Hey, I'm Chad Lacey. I'm going to do a tutorial for you today on how I approach doing blowouts with borosilicate glass. We're basically going to take 3 rods of molten ora telemagenta, gather them up, blow them out, and then sleeve them in about 2 millimeters of clear glass. In the end, what you'll have is a tube that looks a lot like this, and it's just about probably half a pound of glass, which is nice. Take a quarter pound of color, turn it into half a pound of tubing. I am gonna sleeve the clear on a lathe, which you could do this without the lathe. It's just work smarter, not harder. It's a lot easier this way. I also pull the air out with a vacuum, which some people like to just marver the air out. Both ways are fine. I just prefer the vacuum myself. So thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, and if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. So here, if you look, you'll see now I have this completed gather. I have a slight point on the tip so that I can get some heat in there still without a flat end, and I have something to line up and push to. I use just a standard reamer here to push this in. I try to soak as much heat as I can into it and really get it nice and soft and hot. When I go in to push, I try to line up gently at first without pushing too hard, sort of find my center, and then once I have it good and set, I'll kind of ride on the marver and really jam into it. I want to try to push it as deep as I can. You can't really go so crazy that you end up really messing up the shape. It's also important sometimes to go in and cook the inside of it. Sometimes you get little cracks inside from the push, and you want to melt them out before you go to blow this out. can see the shape of the gather at the end with the push in it, and you can see the shape of the blowpipe or collar that I use. That blowpipe will last for a few blowouts. I'll have to recollect it and maybe add some material sometimes, but it's good. When I heat up the end of the gather, I try to get it real nice and soft and then make an attachment to the blowpipe and then soak the heat in. The key here is to heat the gather way hotter than you think. I like to get it hot, and when I think I'm ready to blow it out, I'll get it hot for another 10 seconds or so. Really try to soak the heat in. If you don't get good core heat, it's gonna blow out funky and weird, or you're just gonna struggle and blow so hard you give yourself an aneurysm. Once I get that bubble pushed down, I detach the punny, I get rid of any excess clear glass, and I heat it up and try to blow the bubble all the way down to the end. Try to use the torch and air as much as possible and the marver as little as possible, but you still do have to marver occasionally. Once I get it down there, I'll attach either a handle or a solid punty so that I can stretch and even the bubble out and start to size it up to what I'll need it to be to fit inside my final tube. As the tube starts to even out and lengthen, I'll separate the original collar and I'll use that new handle so that I can blow it and work it out nice and even. Once my tube thickness and size is starting to really take shape, I'll open one end and I'll coil pot a clear collar onto the end of it. This is so when I do the sleeve, as it reaches the end or in the beginning of the sleeve, I have some clear to help stick the outer layer of clear to, so that if it happens to trap bubbles, it happens on that clear collar. I also like to use scrap 5mm to do this with. I'll attach some short leftover pieces of 5mm to do this job. That way I'm kind of being frugal with glass that's otherwise trash, rather than using brand new flashy glass for a section that I'm just going to throw out anyway. Once I have that collar blown out and sized up, I'll open the end and attach one more handle. This handle will be the final one for the sleeving process. It's the handle that'll get chucked into the lathe. It's also the handle that will be attached to the final tube when it comes out of the lathe. I separate the handle that it was on previously, and I'll open that up a little bit and coil pop one more collar out on that end. Set up on the lathe here. I'm using my Bunsen to preheat that outer sleeve so that when I slide my color tube inside of it, it doesn't break. So I start first by heating the open end of the clear sleeve, get it nice and hot, and paddle it down to make full contact. I usually like to blow a little bit just to keep everything in control and get that starting end nice and melted. Once it's closed and melted smooth, I'll turn on my vacuum and slowly heat from one end down to the other and let the vacuum pull out the space between the two tubes. So once I separate off the outer tube and break that collar off, it's pretty much done here. You can see now I have a nice long tube of color that's coated and clear. It's stable, it's ready to be worked. I appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll try to do some more tutorials and videos like this, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll try to get to them.